is Dr. Edward Saunders. Ed Saunders is president of Ecotourism International, a consulting firm that prepares market assessments, feasibility studies, and business plans for ecotourism and related sustainable development projects. He is a former vice chairman of the International Ecotourism Society and author of the Economics and Financing of Ecologic and the U.S. Ecotourism Market. He's a founding partner, did the business planning, and recruited investors for a 13,000-acre conservation and ecotourism project in Belize. Following an early career as a senior U.S. government official, he co-founded 2 international business consulting firms before shifting his focus to ecotourism 10 years ago. He has a PhD in economics from Yale University and attended the advanced management program at the Harvard Business School. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ed Saunders.
Different subject, basically focusing more on private protected areas rather than national parks, and talk about the role of ecosystem services potentially in supplementing income from tourism revenue. And I'd like to start, just take a minute and describe how I backed into the ecosystem services world from ecotourism. As Valerie noted, I'm a co-founding partner of the large conservation and ecotourism project in Belize. And we started the project 8 or 9 years ago, acquired 7,600 acres at the time for the private part of the project, about a 12 square mile area that anchors the key habitat corridor, about last stretch of tropical forest that connects the mountains to the coast in Belize, so a very important conservation initiative. And about 4 years ago, we had an option to buy 5,000 more acres of adjoining land, and agonized on that because the cost of that additional land couldn't be covered by the ecotourism revenues from the ecotourism projects. And as a result, started looking for what other options might be available to cover the cost of paying that. We looked at very seriously carbon sequestration, carbon credits. Unfortunately, at the time, the administrative costs of applying and managing that were just too high. But it got me quite interested in thinking about, again, what are supplemental funding sources for large nature preservation projects, and as a result got interested in the whole array of ecosystem services. And I think I'll try to show through the short presentation that there are lots of options for, again, supplementing income from tourism revenues where somebody's trying to protect a larger area, and specifically in private sector projects. This group doesn't need any support in knowing that ecotourism depends on a vibrant natural area for the success of the venture. I think perhaps people aren't quite as aware of the likely pressures on those natural resource areas over the coming years. I just happened to be reading a book on the way up in the airplane by Tom Friedman, Hot, Flat, and Crowded, and if people haven't read it, it's a great book, but pointing out the fairly obvious point that it's not just the size of population, but in effect population times income that really is the pressure. And if we look at the current population of about 6.7 billion in the world, projected to go up to somewhere around 9 billion by 2050, that's a stress on the system, roughly 1/3 increase in population. But the thing that's really going to create change is the fact that incomes for that 9 billion are likely to be 2 or 3 times as high as current income. So when you start thinking in the context of peak oil or limited agricultural land or water availability, 3 times as much demand on that is going to put tremendous pressure on natural areas. And that's, some of the natural areas are managed by public agencies, public parks, as Professor Eagles mentioned, and those areas are